Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. Today is Monday, August 21st, 2023. We are here in the conference room for the Board of County Commissioners at the Larimer County Administrative Services Building in Fort Collins, and we are here for our work session with the Community Planning Infrastructure Resources Department. I welcome you all. I'm Larimer County Commissioner Jody Shag McNally, Chair of the Board of County Commissioners. I'm joined by my colleague, Commissioner John Confalis. Commissioner Stevens is excused. Also joining us at the dais is our County Manager, Lorinda Volker, and in the room is our Assistant County Manager, Lori Cadridge, and I will hand this over to our Director of CPIR's Director, Lesli Ellis. And we know there's lots of people in the room. I am not going to go through the whole list. I'll let you introduce. So thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Good afternoon, Commissioners. Lesli Ellis, Community Planning Infrastructure and Resources Director. And we have two items on the agenda today and then updates, but items from first engineering and road and bridge and then natural resources. And so I'll first off hand it over to Mark Peterson, who has information to present along with Todd Juergens and Tim Meyer from their respective departments on County Road 18E right-of-way. So I'll pass it along.
Welcome, and thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners. As Leslie indicated, we want to talk to you first about the County Road 18 public right-of-way, and then Todd has some road segments that he wants to talk to you about acceptance for county maintenance. County Road 18E is Pole Hill Road, otherwise known as Pole Hill Road, and it's a road that we've been involved in discussions with the Bureau of Reclamation for quite some time now. And so it's been to deal with what is formally dedicated as public right-of-way up there. Tim Meyer is sort of our resident expert. He's been working on the whole Pole Hill Road question for a number of years now. And so we got correspondence back from the Bureau of Reclamation. They've provided a quick claim deed to Larimer County to transfer that right-of-way formally over to Larimer County, but we want to kind of show you what it involves, what it entails, and then visit with you about what kind of public process we might want to have before we move forward with it. So.
Yeah, thank you. And I'm very familiar with this area since close to my house, but I've had a lot of constituents reach out over the last 3 years with lots of concerns and questions. So I think we've had a conversation too. So appreciate you being here. I'm very interested to hear this update. So I'll let you go ahead and proceed. Thank you.
So we've got 18A comes up to, well, maybe I'll let Tim give you more context for it, because again, it's really his research and expertise that have gone into all this.
Okay.
I'm going to have you introduce yourself just formally for the record, so thank you.
I'm Tim Meyer, land agent in the engineering department. So this county road, it was established in 1887 through the road viewer process, and at that time it went from Loveland all the way up to Estes. What triggered all of this stuff that we're hoping to finish up now is the CBT project. They had a late change. They were going to run water down the Big Thompson Canyon, and instead, due to cost overruns, they put it in tunnels and came down basically parallel to County Road 18E and ran it through a couple of power plants to generate income. So much of 18E, especially above where Pinewood is now, up to Estes, had apparently not been used much. It was primarily for livestock and horse use. So when the Bureau started making improvements to the road that were necessary for all the work they were doing, local residents objected. They didn't want the road to be improved and open to a lot of public use. So they filed suit against the county, and there was an agreement reached, and the agreement changed use on the middle section of the road to where, and we'll show you here in another map where that section is, but it eliminated vehicle use on the middle section of that road. We don't consider it vacated because there were some rights that were retained, including the county maintaining parts of it. So this.
Go back to the,
No, let's go back to that one. This is the section where most of the controversy has been. On the left side of the map is the forest. You can see the green color there for the Forest Service. The road was fairly steep there, so there was significant realignment. And right there where the marker is where it leaves forest and goes on to private land. What the Bureau did was they got easements from the private landowners when they relocated the road. And this was in the late 40s and early 50s. So they entered into contracts with the county to lay out what they were going to do to the roads and then turn them over to us. And as it turns out, they never did quitclaim the roads to us. There was a contract that said they were going to do it, but they never did it. We didn't really become acutely aware of that until Chimney Hollow Reservoir was being built, and they had to have an intersection and come off of that road, and we discovered that we didn't have records of where the right-of-way actually was. So we started this work with Reclamation to get a quitclaim deed for the road as they relocated it. One of the issues is at the west end where the marker is up there. Right there. There's a stretch right here where Reclamation's easement was very restrictive and it did not allow for public use. The rest of the easements, the ones that are in the yellow dots here, this landowner agreed to an easement that was worded to allow public use. So after the county took it over, it could be used by the public. But this section in red was for CBT use only. So what Reclamation has just done for the county is a quitclaim deed that starts right here and goes all the way down the hill to Flatiron Reservoir. Maintenance on 18E ends right there at the dam. There's road associations that have continued to make improvements on the road past that point, up through here, and they perform maintenance on that road, and it's done through permit process with the county. There is a lot of misunderstanding with the private landowners in this area regarding the road. They consider it to be a private road, and technically we do not. It's still a public road that has some severe restrictions. From this point, this is the east end of the 39 agreement, out to right here. So that stretch, with the quitclaim deed from Reclamation, it would become public just like any other public road. still privately maintained, but it would be a public road so that public could travel on. I think some of the issues that have been brought up have to do with the signage up there. There's a number of signs that indicate that the road is private and under surveillance. This sign over here even cites a Colorado revised statute that would be used against people, but it's not the correct statute. It's has to do with theft. I think that's about where I'll stop unless you got more specific questions.
So again, we have a quick claim deed from the Bureau that basically just requires acceptance by the board. So that's a document that could be carried forward at any point in time. Part of what we want to visit with you about is, again, given the controversy and, what you've heard back from residents in the area, is there some sort of public process that we want to go through, or just a notification process to let everybody know this is being carried forward?
Commissioner, I have something, a curious thing, but let you have a comment on that. Go ahead.
Yes, well, first of all, I haven't heard from folks, so I imagine the commissioner has. It's been a long time, but I have been up that stretch. I met with some ranchers that are up in that neck of the woods. I guess my two questions are, to your, I think you had a question in there, Mark. It seems to me that the section of the road that in the past was considered private, and now we're talking to make it officially public, but still privately maintained, that may not sit well with folks. I wonder if anyone wishes to comment on that. And also in relation to that, Tim and Mark, the signage that you just showed us, would that ultimately come down, and how would that work? So again, what is the reaction of folks if, moving forward with approving this easement or whatever we have to do from the BLM? And I think that gets to your question about how much of a public process we want, or just a notice that, by the way, you still got to maintain the road, but now, it's officially public. Does that make sense, Mark?
Well, I mean, that's pretty common throughout,
Okay.
the unincorporated portions of the county, is we have a lot of roadways that are publicly accessible. I mean, Storm Mountain's a classic example of, a publicly accessible road that provides access to the forest lands, but it's maintained by a public improvement district. This is a case where certainly the residents up there are sensitive. They've wanted to sort of prevent people from proceeding down that roadway, even to the point of putting up some signs that are not legal and would need to be removed. They're in the public right of way, and they're not communicating an appropriate message. I mean, the one is sort of saying private road ahead. Well, the private road ahead is quite some distance ahead. So you're putting up a sign to kind of give somebody the impression that they're entering onto private property, even at that point, which is well ahead of the end of our current public easement for that roadway.
So,
In other words, that private road ahead sign is sitting down, right down here, even though you've got to go all the way up to that point before you've left public right of way.
and that is why I've been contacted by, actually, there's several different groups that all disagree about where that sign should be or not be. I thought that sign at that spot had gotten removed, or you had contacted them, because it was in our right-of-way where they placed it.
I don't believe it's come out yet. I know code compliance has sort of looked at it, and I believe Tim even went up and looked at it as well. We've been we don't want to go in and just start pulling signs unless somebody kind of knows what's going on and why we're doing it.
Yeah, because I know that was been over like a year since we had that conversation, and I know that one group really wanted those signs to come down, so I think, because they weren't accurate. So I think it would, I mean, it's officially public, but it's always been public. That's the message, right? I mean, it's always been, but this one would, with the quick claim, would help provide an opportunity for us to maybe have a community conversation up there. I figure I'd much rather have everyone have the opportunity to come hear all the same information at once, to kind of make sure we give them notice, and getting all the groups together to make sure they get the same information and ask questions. I'm sure that's going to cause stir up some dust in that. There's two different road associations, as I understand it. There's different groups that don't really communicate well, so I think it'd be great to get ahead of that, be proactive, and give them opportunity to hear the history and the facts, and give them a chance to hear it before we take signs down.
Well, and a couple points to clarify is this was the limit of the 1939 agreement that Tim referenced, so
Yeah.
it's been always identified as public to that point. What's changing or what's being added to is the quitclaim deed clarifies that this portion over roughly to this intersection is public. It still does not provide access to the forest lands. There's this gap here. And the other point to make is when the county has not vacated the public use of even the roadway to the west, even though the county restricted use of that public right-of-way, but it retained and the allowance for horseback and driving livestock. So there's technically a public right-of-way in a sense that continues all the way over to Estes Park. Am I explaining that well enough?
So again, I think it might be a good way to make sure everyone gets all of the accurate information at one time, and then help clear up any confusion, and then also explain why the signs can't be there in someone else's right-of-way with the signs that are not accurate. So that might just help, because I know that other group is still pretty not pleased that they're still up. So I haven't heard from them the last 6 months, but they keep asking me what's the progress. So, and the proposed gate, can you remind me again was that the Bureau, who was putting that gate up?
The property owner that owns the property here, and the gate has actually been put up. So there's a gate that's there, and that gate's off the small segment that doesn't have full public access across it.
Okay. And that's why this is such a complex issue, because there's lots of different pieces here. So that would be my recommendation, just to kind of give a chance to make sure everyone gets the same information. I'm sure we could meet I can see if DNR wouldn't mind opening their building up for a meeting. We've had some great meetings there, so I just think it's a great opportunity to clear up any information and give folks a chance to be heard, so,
Okay. We'll work on something like that.
great.
If I
Commissioner
may,
Kafalis.
That's quite all right. I just want to make sure that it looks like you're clear on the direction that we've just provided. I just want to make sure that I'm clear on the direction that we've just provided. And I believe I heard that at the commissioner's suggestion, there would be some kind of a community meeting out in the field to explain all of these things that you've explained to us. And then after that community meeting, then would it come back to us for some kind of approval?
Yeah, we just go through probably at admin matters, could even go on the consent agenda. It's
Okay,
just
that's what,
a signature accepting the quitclaim deed from the Bureau.
That's what I understood. So that would be after this neighborhood meeting,
Yeah.
so that folks can have that discussion. Okay.
Do you
Thank
want
for
that
clarifying.
before the neighborhood meeting, or do you want it after the neighborhood meeting? Are you intending to accept the quitclaim deed one way or the other?
I would like to have the committee meeting beforehand, but I guess, is there, is it staff recommendations to accept the quitclaim, or are you having reservations?
No, our recommendation is to accept
Accept
the
it.
quitclaim deed
Okay.
to deal with this right-of-way
That's what I-
issue that's
Yeah,
been somewhat unresolved for decades now.
yep, yeah, okay, that's what I thought. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I would say then we would approve the quitclaim deed, but the purpose, in my mind, the purpose of the meeting would be just to have that open conversation and make it clear in the beginning, we've decided on this, but we wanted to inform you
Right.
and have, maybe there are other things that we can address, but this is what our decision is.
And my schedule can be flexible if we can do it in the evening, or, I don't
Yeah,
want to give
that's-
up more of my weekend time because I'm pretty booked with the county events on weekends anyway. But certainly since it's close to my house, I'm more than happy to be there. And
Okay. Does this road go all the way to Estes? Can a two-wheel vehicle go to Estes on this road? Curious.
Yeah, physically, you can, if you can get through the gates.
It is a four-wheel drive parking lot at the west end.
So from that proposed gate on the map, west into Estes is restricted. There is physically a road there and landowners have access, but the public cannot drive through to Estes.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, WAPA has just replaced the power line through there, and that's their access all the way to Estes.
Thank you.
Thank you. And just for fun, Tim, how long have you worked on this project? I think I heard at some point this was like a project about 60 years in the making. I know you haven't worked on it for that long, but for quite a
Yeah.
while, right? So
Yeah, full
congratulations.
disclosure, I worked for the Bureau of Reclamation there at Flatiron, and I retired from them 10 and a half years ago, and I had worked on it for a number of years when I was there.
yeah, thanks for reminding me of that, Leslie, when I got to meet with you, Tim, and it's when those neighbors came up with this conflict, and you came and explained, my jaw kind of dropped open, like, wow, this has been happening for a long time, and I appreciate all your historical context, because it was really valuable. So, what I would love it if we have a community conversation or a meeting that would have you there to kind of have that historical context. I'm just assuming you would be there, but I would hope that you would know. I would find your feedback and your information, your expertise, like extremely valuable, so.
Yeah, I'd be available.
That's great. I appreciate that, because that's, and I hope you guys have documented, you should record them and record all this history, because it's been a long time in the making, and it has a lot of historic value too, and I think there's some stories or some historic history there to capture, so we appreciate you being here today. So we
thank
got
you
our
all.
direction then? Yeah?
Yes,
Okay, so I guess you can talk to Melissa and
we'll work with your office to schedule something.
find something as quick as possible if you can, so we can check the box for Tim.
Okay.
All right, next one.
I'm Todd Juergens, I'm the Road and Bridge Director. I've got what I think is a quick topic, but I've got 3 road segments that I am recommending to the board that we accept for maintenance. And they should be in front of you. Let me see if I can zoom this in. So in Estes Park on Elm Road, this is Highway 36 down here, and Elm Road comes up the hill. This property is the redeveloped Larimer County Estes Park shop. And during the process of redeveloping that shop, through a series of public meetings we had agreed to bring to the board the acceptance of this segment of road that's in green here to the board to be accepted for maintenance. It's a stretch of road that's just always kind of hung out by itself. The state and the county both had shop sites there. We were each plowing it in the wintertime, but nobody was really maintaining the pavement. A lot of that traffic is obviously ours. And so when we redeveloped the shop property, we improved that segment of road. We got it patched up and we overlaid it as a part of the project. And so this is really cleanup from that project. I would like to recommend that we accept that for full maintenance. So treat it like we do a mainline road across our property from the town limits, which are here, up to the end of the pavement at Rangeview Road. So we would take care of the pavement maintenance, we would plow it, we'd take care of the signing there. The length of that segment is around 1,150 feet. And again, the recommendation would be that we accept that for full maintenance. And so today there's a conversation. Ultimately, we would bring a resolution to the board with that information, and you would sign a resolution that accepts all or some of these road segments that I'm bringing to you today. So before I move on, any questions on this piece of Elm Road?
Todd, we no longer share the shop with the state, so it's just our
That's right.
traffic, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yep,
I think that's the shop you took me to in
Yep.
2021. Okay,
yep.
thank you.
Okay. Next section of road is Westview Road, and this is just in North Fort Collins, so Country Club Road to the north here. This section of road from this point here to Country Club has existed in the county. It's been publicly dedicated, non-county maintained. There is a city subdivision that exists here, and this is one of the accesses in and out of that subdivision. So the issue has been that city residents are using this unmaintained county road for access to the subdivision. We worked with the city this past year, and the city of Fort Collins made improvements to this section of Westview. They patched it and overlaid it. And in accordance with a 1994 resolution from the board, this road is pre-1994. If it's brought to standard at no cost to the county can accept it for maintenance. So what we're suggesting here, what I'm recommending is that we accept this section of road. It's about 1,350 feet, but we accept it as a subdivision road, which is different than full maintenance. It really means we'll plow snow, we take care of the signs, we'll crack seal and chip seal, but no structural patching, no overlay, no ultimate reconstruction. So it would be accepted at the subdivision level of maintenance.
And would we be very clear to the neighborhood about what that subdivision acceptance means and very,
Yes.
okay. Commissioner Kowalski, do you have a question?
Yeah, yes, I do. I think I know the answer, but I want to make sure. And that is the reason we can justify doing this because initially it was prior to 1994, and there was a level of maintenance done by the city, and then it was after 1994 that the commissioners made a decision not to, roads that were in subdivisions, unless they had been approved prior, that's why we can do this, right?
Roads that have been publicly dedicated prior to 1994 that are brought to standard at no cost to the county can be accepted for maintenance. If the road was dedicated post-1994, regardless, we don't have an option to accept for maintenance.
Thank you, Todd. You articulated that better than I.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions on Westview? Okay. So then the last road segment is Trilby Road, and it is adjacent to the new Behavioral Health Services building. So Trilby Road, west of Taft Hill, has existed as a publicly dedicated, non-county maintained road. With the development of behavioral health, the section to the property line here has been improved and paved. And we believe the county, we're going to need to take care of that road. We're going to, instead, rather than having the property owners maintain that section of road like they do today with our traffic and our improvements there, one, we need to be plowing it in the wintertime, make sure we have safe access in and out of the facility. And then the pavement maintenance. It was a non-paved road prior to this project, and the maintenance belonged to the residents that access off of that. So I'm recommending that we accept it from this point, which is the city of Fort Collins has the first 150 feet of right-of-way, that we pick it up from there to the property line that was improved as a part of this project, and that we accept that as a main line road for full maintenance. There may be a point in the future where the landfill constructs some additional improvements on Trilby Road. I'm not sure that they know yet what that might look like, but I think we would deal with that in the future once we know what, if any, actual improvements get made there. But for now, the recommendation would be across the frontage of the behavioral health.
Thank you, and thank you, Todd. You proactively addressed my question regarding the proposed transfer station that would be on the west end of Trilby. We'll cross that path when we get there.
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Todd. That makes sense to me. I'm traveling out there a lot, and I know it's going to get a lot of traffic coming up. So my quick question is, then would we do some work on laying a different kind of roads? Right now, it's all dirt, so would we just maintain what it is, or are we going to do some improvements on that?
So right now, it is paved. It
Okay,
was
just-
paved as a part of the project.
Okay, so that's,
Yep.
I just trying to think, but I think you're right. Sometimes I just forget because I go into the construction lot and now it's
Yeah.
not on the parking lot, so,
Previous to the project, it was a gravel road.
yeah.
But as a part of this project, it's been paved to the west property
Okay, you're
line.
right. I've just been out there since before and it was dirt and then, thinking about the dirt lot, so that's what I'm thinking and trying to go over those yellow mat things,
Sure.
so. Okay, so that makes sense, and when it comes to plowing and stuff with that 150, would the city, are we going to come to agreement who plows that?
Yeah, I'll work that out with the city.
Okay.
One of us will take all of it, and it's probably us. We're plowing for the city there on Taft Hill now. As a part of our maintenance agreement, we plow that section of road for them. So we're through that intersection every snowstorm. I think we will just take care of this piece of Trilby. But we'll
Yeah.
make sure they don't have 150 feet and we have
Yeah.
the remainder.
I'm just thinking about middle of night, middle of snowstorm, in case someone needs to get into that parking lot for a crisis stabilization. I'd hate for someone to have trouble getting in, so just curious about that. So, all right, all of these sound appropriate and good for me. Commissioner Kafals?
I concur.
Okay, that's all I had.
Great.
Thank you. You'll see a resolution in the near future.
All right, thank you. Appreciate the information and appreciate the maps and the visuals. It's
You bet.
helpful. Thank you. Thank you, Tim, for being here.
All right, thank you. We're going to move on to an update on the Discover Pack from Natural Resources. So Dalen Figgs and Corey Johnson are here, and Jenna Kramer is going to do the presentation on this item as soon as she passes out some items for you.
Leave this with you. I only brought one, so if you'll pass that along when you're done.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you.
We'll talk about these during the presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Excellent. And just a quick time check, Leslie, how are we doing?
I think if we reserve 5 or 10 minutes at the end for Rebecca and me, we should be in good shape.
Okay, I have a hard stop at
Okay.
2:30, so
We will go quick.
it's good to see you. Thank you for bringing the information.
Absolutely.
What are the BOCCs?
All right, so This is just a quick update on the Discover Pack, which I'll kind of run through the history again, but it operates in a partnership with library districts within Larimer County. Prior to this year, it was these 6 districts, and now we've incorporated the 7th. So every library district in Larimer County is now part of the Discover Pack program. It was initiated with the goals of increasing opportunity for interacting with nature, for reducing barriers to access, and to reinforce community connections with our libraries. I've included some feedback that we've received from people who actually used the Discover Pack that I think really highlights that we're achieving those goals. And, sorry. Give you a second to just take those in. These comments came from the survey, which is included with every Discover Pack. There's a little tag on the bag with a QR code that people can give us feedback on. And that feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. A weighted score of 4.9 out of 5. Discover Pack is just one small effort in all of our public engagement strategies at the Department of Natural Resources. This chart here just shows some of those other areas of strategy, and just to highlight that this is one small facet of how we reach out to our community. So Discover Pack launched in 2021. It was in the middle of the year when it launched. So 2022 was its first full year. In 2022, we saw 826 checkouts across the entire system. So far in 2023, we're up 10% over where we were in 2022. So we're projecting 10% growth at the end of 2023. Some of the expansion that we've undergone this year is we now have Discover Packs on the Poudre Library's mobile library, Evie. And we also have 5 Discover Packs available to the community at the Berthoud Community Library now. Our outreach has kind of shifted from announcing the product, the campaign, to making it aware. Building community awareness that it exists. And a big part of that is ensuring that we've got translated materials across all of our channels. We have new graphics. We've got them all translated into Spanish, as you can see from the pieces that I've handed out to you. And our library district partners have commented on how happy they are that we're making this effort to reach the Spanish-speaking communities here in Larimer County. That's kind of where we're at. It's going really good. It's a very popular program. I'd like to give you all some time to ask some questions.
Wonderful. Thank you for bringing the pack and the information. And I can say, as commissioners, we're so proud to have sponsored financially the launch of this program. It has exceeded all my expectations and more. And I just want to thank you for nurturing it and getting it on Evie and some of these, and seeing it through other rural parts. It's just phenomenal. Glad you brought some quotes. My question is, and then maybe you shared this, and I wasn't, because I was reading the pack. Are you tracking how many, is it, when you said the 800 visits, is there percentages for the different areas and libraries so we can kind of know if it's all Poudre and just a few sprinkles from the rest, or what does that look like?
Yeah, they are. So each library district presents me stats in a different mode. Most common is we can give you the total that we've got so far. Poudre Libraries is unfortunately in that category, so I don't know which buildings they're shipping most of them out of, but I do have individual numbers for each library district. And the 2 big ones are obviously Poudre Libraries and CSU. And then everybody else is picking up steam along the way too. The most growth has occurred in Wellington. And I think that's a reflection of Wellington's rapid growth population-wise, and people probably starting to realize that they even have a library.
That's great. And is the EV then wrapped into those numbers too for Pooter and not separate?
It is.
Oh, bummer.
It
Okay.
is, I know. Evie, unfortunately, was our first loss of a Discover Pass pack, but we've since replaced it. A young Larimer County resident of 3 years old ejected it from a moving vehicle, and it was not recoverable.
Well, I, as a parent of 3 children that were toddlers at one time, I feel for that family. I'm sure they felt pretty bad about that. But I guess one loss in over a year, I mean.
Almost 2 years of operation now,
That's pretty
so that's
impressive.
phenomenal.
I think we'll take it, and now you have some fun stories to share, so.
Yes.
And with
Commissioner,
your generous support too, we can totally replace that. You
Well,
know, like we
and-
have a whole stockpile at. the
yes,
office,
and
so.
we're so thrilled that you do, so just great work. Commissioner Kowalski, anything, questions you'd like to ask or comments?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Jen. Thank you for the update. I have 2 questions, well, maybe 3 quick ones. The first one is, I'm glad that the commissioners, we were able to financially support this initially. How will we be supporting this financially, sustainably? Because it looks like there's a lot of growth happening. So how can we accommodate that growth? What's the budget, that sort of thing?
Well, at this point, really, the initial cost was the expense, was getting those passes. And we have a very sufficient stock of the bags.
Okay.
And we have about 30 of the hanging placards still in hand. So the initial order was for 100 of those. It was number 70 that went to Evie to replace the downed one. But at this time, that seems to be plenty sufficient to replace any other repairs. There's probably an abundance of 3-year-olds eager for an opportunity to
Eject?
eject a pass out the the window of the moving car. But at this time, there's, other than marketing collaterals as they become developed, there's not really a specific expense projection.
Thank you for answering my question. My second question is, has there been consideration for other types of community outreach other than just the library? So for example, areas that are really important like La Familia or even La Cocina, because we know that, being outdoors is good for our spiritual and emotional well-being. So are we considering making Discover Packs available there, or how would we monitor that?
So at
Make sure
those,
that
we
not more ejected out.
Yeah, at those, we tend to lean more on other strategies that we have than Discover Pack. We find Discover Pack is really tailored to the structure of libraries, where we can track who's taking them, we can limit how many times they're taking them. Our other outreach efforts to groups like La Familia and stuff, I think would really land well within our education outreach, providing guided tours, providing classroom instruction at their facilities or in the community at large.
Thank you, and I imagine informing them that the Discover Packs are available either at one of the libraries or perhaps the mobile library. So thank you for answering that question. And my final question, and other than well done, good work, is I noticed in one of the booklets, Spanish, it referenced guardabosque. What is your translation of guarda? Bosque means forest, guarda means to guard. What is
That's
the
the Junior Ranger Guide.
Oh, is that what that is?
Yeah, so the booklet is our education department or division's Junior Ranger Guide. And so it's activities for youth to encourage stewardship behaviors and ecological awareness. And so that's the translation that was provided for that particular
Thank you.
publication.
It's perhaps not a literal translation.
Probably not.
But that's
Yes,
even better.
Guardians of the Forest is
Thank you
what we're
very
trying
much.
to raise.
I'm done, thanks.
Thank you. Again, fantastic work. Like I said, it exceeded all my, my hopes and dreams, and excited, and just a great program. Excited to, like I said, to help launch this with our financial support from the board, and just appreciate you expanding it, and the numbers are very, very encouraging and exciting. And I appreciate this public engagement, because I would agree. There's so much happening in our Department of Industrial Resources, I can't keep up, and I keep looking for opportunities I can come volunteer. My schedule is, so I said, that's the
A quick
one.
shout out, we will be giving nectar points to county employees who come in and volunteer with us on National Public Lands Day,
Yep.
September 23rd.
Yep, I know, I was on my calendar, I gotta figure out how I open that space up, so, but yes, appreciate the work that you're doing, and very exciting. So thank you for being here today, and thanks for the update.
Yes, thank you, Commissioner.
And Londra, do you want to add anything?
I think this is one of those great examples of making our natural spaces accessible in lots of different ways. The numbers are really encouraging. I hope that they continue to grow in Loveland and Berthoud and other places. I'm excited to see the pack itself in action, and the numbers from the libraries. Great work.
Yeah, I would like to throw in, I kind of glossed over the stats, because trying to be concise for time. But with the number of checkouts in 2022 and extrapolating some data that we got from users of the packs, we think about half the people who check one out use one to visit more than one property. So it was about an in-kind value of $12,000 to $15,000 to our community in 2022, who wouldn't have had that opportunity otherwise.
Wow, that's a impressive number. Are you putting that on the website?
Yeah,
Okay, good. Cool, very much, thank you.
you.
Appreciate you sharing that.
yes, thank you.
Hello, Community Development Director Rebecca Everett, nice to see you. I guess you have an update for us.
Hello, yes.
Thank you, Dalen and DNR, for being here.
I have just a couple quick hits today, a few short updates for you, and mostly just calling attention to some information that you've received from staff in the last few days. So first, I want to mention you received an email from Matt Lafferty, our local government designee for oil and gas matters, about the continued flaring activity out at the Prospect Energy site, and some action that's being taken at the state level by the
ECMC, Energy Carbon Management, something.
Thank you, the Energy Carbon Management Commission, formerly the Colorado Oil and Gas Conservation Commission. So they've called for a hearing to hold that operator accountable for the unauthorized flaring activity that's happening on that site. Second, you received a memo from City Fort Collins staff on the East Mulberry corridor plan and annexation, and responses to some questions that we received from you all. And if there are additional follow-up questions or additional conversations that you'd like to have, just let me know, and I can get that coordinated with staff over at Fort Collins. Their timeline has been delayed a bit for bringing that item to City Council for consideration of adoption for that plan, so that'll be happening toward the very end of this year in December, is when it's now scheduled for City Council. So we'll continue to monitor and provide review and comments at the staff level on that document, and continue to keep you all updated as that moves through the adoption process at the city.
Thank you, and I appreciated the email that you sent with all the questions. I appreciated that. Thank you.
Great. And finally,
So Commissioner Kafalis.
okay, final quick update. The Thornton Pipeline Project is doing some public outreach meetings. I think I had mentioned it previously to you all. One of those was held last week. There's one this evening where City of Thornton staff are providing information to community members and inviting the community to come learn about the project and get informed prior to them officially starting the development review process for a 1041 permit application. I did attend the first outreach meeting last week to kind of observe what the conversation looked like. It was an open house style. It wasn't Q&A. There wasn't a presentation per se. There were handouts and materials and a lot of one-on-one conversations that happened. And according to Thornton staff, there were over 100 people who attended, which tracks with what I observed.
Commissioner Gonzalez.
Thank you. Thank you, Rebecca. Where was that? So regarding this particular update, and then I would like to offer a shout out for someone. Where did this neighborhood meeting take place?
Yes, the neighborhood meeting last week took place up at RDEC,
That's right.
north toward Wellington. I'm trying to remember where the one tonight is located.
That's okay.
I would have to double check. I believe it's somewhere down in Fort Collins is the second one.
Thank you. And now I'd like to offer my shout out to Matt Lafferty. Appreciate him a lot in a lot of ways. Certainly keeping track as our local government designee of all of these oil and gas matters. I think, he's been a valuable person, asset in terms of trying to make sure that everyone's held accountable, including us, and that we try to keep the air clean. So I want to do a shout out to Matt Lafferty.
Yes, thank you. Agreed. And I'll mention Leah Schneider as well in our health department. They're a great team of experts in this area now, and our community is lucky to have their expertise.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Thank you, Commissioner. Yeah, Matt, thank you he's really prompt and up to date with all the emails, and I appreciate him keeping us informed. Because it's when we get asked by staff or community members, which I did yesterday, with some community members from our community and outside our community, what's going on with that? So it was great that I had that information on hand, so thank you. So, okay, any other updates? Okay, so now we're back to Director Ellis.
Yes. And now that you've heard, at least briefly, from 4 out of 6 of the departments, I don't really have much more to add today, other than that to remind everybody that the first of the Water Education Series sessions is tonight at 6 o'clock here at 200 Oak Street, for those who might be interested in that. But otherwise, I have no further updates for you this afternoon.
Wonderful. Well, we appreciate all the updates and everyone's work, and certainly filled agenda today and some good news, and appreciate both of you and the work that you do. And so with that, I'll take an extra 5 minutes to get to my next meeting. So at 2:24, we are adjourned. Thank you all for being here.